Private military companies, PMCs, are independent corporations that offer military services to national governments, international organizations, and sub-state actors. We can call them modern-day mercenaries. The range of services they provide covers many areas. They can fight in conflict zones, train military personnel, guard officials, protect oil fields, and provide logistics for wherever they are paid and deployed. The global industry for PMCs is estimated to amount to more than $200 billion. Anyone can hire a soldier from $500 to $750 per day. Due to the rapidly changing international politics and security environment today, new opportunities are open for private military companies, and mercenaries are reborn in a new format. Demand for private armies boomed, especially when countries began to downsize their militaries after the end of the Cold War in the 1990s. And they started to work for governments in war zones, such as Iraq, Afghanistan, and recently in Syria and Libya. However, there was a grave legitimacy problem with PMCs that has surfaced. While PMCs provide many services in different parts of the world, their employees, or contractors as they are called, can act unboundedly, violating human rights and getting involved in crime. This video will take a look at some human rights violations committed by these companies. The U.S. invasion of Iraq created a catastrophe, leaving hundreds of thousands of deaths and a failed state behind. The role of private military companies during the invasion of Iraq has been controversial. In 2005, a video spread on the internet showing guards from British PMC, namely Aegis Defense Services, shooting civilians randomly while listening to Elvis Presley's Mystery Train song. Aegis Defense Services is run by Lieutenant Colonel Tim Spicer, a former British Scots Guard officer and former contractor involved in military operations that violated the United Nations arms embargo during the Sierra Leone Civil War. On May 2, 2006, an explosion occurred at a very close distance to the Green Zone, Baghdad, while the guards of Blackwater, a US-based PMC, were passing on the road. Upon hearing the blast, paramedics rushed onto the scene. But for no evident reason, Blackwater guards opened fire on the ambulance. The driver, Jossem Abed Sarhan, and paramedics immediately fled the ambulance. Sarhan later died of severe injuries that he took during the incident. However, Blackwater refused to confirm or deny its involvement, and the incident ended with no judicial process. On September 16, 2007, 4 employees of Blackwater again killed 17 Iraqi civilians and injured 20 others while escorting an American diplomatic envoy in Nisour Square, Baghdad. As the number of such incidents increased, the presence of PMCs in Iraq began to be questioned and the name Blackwater gained a bad reputation. Due to pressure, the company had to change its name to Z Services in 2009, and then to Academy in 2011. American courts convicted 4 Blackwater contractors, Paul Slough, Evan Liberty, Dustin Hurd, and Nicholas Slatton, who were involved in the Nisour Square killings. Slatton was sentenced to life in prison while the other 3 employees got 30 years in total. Blackwater has so far been the most notorious and controversial private military company that was founded by Eric Prince. Prince was amongst Donald Trump's informal advisors and is a billionaire. Though confessing that employees of his company may have killed innocent civilians, Prince explained, with no trace of shame, that profit-making during a war is an accustomed practice of capitalism. Let's not forget that these are only the recorded crimes committed by these companies. There have been equally appalling but less known cases too. In August 2009, Danny Fitzsimmons, a contractor with British PMC Armour Group, shot dead a British and an Australian co-worker and wounded an Iraqi guard while he was drunk. He went on to wound another Iraqi guard after he got drunk again in Baghdad. Fitzsimmons spoke to The Times after the incident and said, "They beat me, and that's when I reached for my weapon. I was drunk and it happened very quickly." Consequently, Iraqi courts sentenced Fitzsimmons to 20 years in prison. This individual case demonstrates that such uncontrolled armed groups are not just a threat for civilians, but also for people with whom they work together. These guards, they have special guards. I do not know who are these people they have brought here soon. They have the right to shoot people, just like that, said member of Iraqi parliament Mahmoud Othman. in an interview that he gave during the days of the war. Later, the founder of Blackwater, Prince, appeared on Mehdi Hasan's show Head to Head, and his answer to the issue of calling Iraqis barbarians is worthy to note.
You've referred to the people your men were fighting in Iraq as barbarians who crawled out of the sewer. You say in your memoir, these were the chanting barbarians American troops had been sent to liberate?
Sure. If people that think it's okay to drive a car bomb into the middle of a square, into the middle of a marketplace, while to attempt to kill an American, and in doing so they kill dozens and dozens of civilians, absolutely that's barbaric.
Which is true. I think if you refer to terrorists, you call them whatever you want. But you said these were the chanting barbarians American troops had been sent to liberate. You weren't sent to liberate terrorists. Sounds like you're talking about Iraqis.
Sir, look,
it's from your words from your memory.
The decision of Iraq.
In Afghanistan, PMCs caused similar human rights violations. One of the most controversial companies that worked in Afghanistan is the US-based Four Horsemen. In May 2009, Robert William Langton, an Australian contractor working for Four Horsemen, killed one of his Afghan co-workers in Kabul. The incident happened after Langton was called to assist a supply convoy heading from Kabul to Ghazni that was attacked. When Langton arrived at the scene, he ordered the convoy to move onwards. Karim, the team leader of an Afghan security guards group who was working for Langton, refused to carry on the mission, saying that it was too dangerous. A violent argument ensued and Langton fired 4 bullets into Karim's chest, killing him instantly. Shocking reports alleged that Langton had been drinking heavily and smoking hashish before he appeared on the scene. Langton has been sentenced to death by an Afghan court, but British authorities kept their silence over the issue. Another similar incident took place in 2010. Philip Young, a contractor who was working for the American-owned company Elham, killed his Afghani translator. According to the victim's father, his son was displeased when he was asked to procure Afghan women for these Western PMC guards. Young denied the allegation and claimed that he acted in self-defense after the Afghan man fired a gun at him. Young has been sentenced to 16 years in prison by an Afghan court. General Ali Shah Pakhtuwal, the former head of Kabul's Criminal Investigation Department, spoke about the situation in Afghanistan to Nadani Guri, a journalist who works for the British media. Here is what he said. "For years I warned our government against this industry. I found proof that they were involved in drug smuggling, prostitution, and the selling of weapons. On one occasion, I caught a convoy handing over weapons to the Taliban. We had a tip-off and I caught them red-handed. Time and again I tried to bring charges against them, but each time the courts dismissed it." Russian Wagner Group is another controversial PMC. The company is run by Yevgeny Prigozhin, a businessman with close links to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Prigozhin is also known as Putin's chef, and he was sentenced to 9 years in prison for robbery and fraud. The group serves the Russian government's interests in key regions such as Ukraine, Syria, Libya, and different parts of Africa, or even Venezuela. But unlike Western companies, limited information is available about their operations and crimes on the ground. Can the reason behind this be related to an interesting fact that journalists who investigate Wagner Group's illegal works somehow die or disappear? In April 2018, a Russian journalist who wrote about the activities of the Wagner Group in Syria died after falling from his balcony in Yekaterinburg. Western media outlets report how Maxim Borodin fell was unclear, while Russian officials claim that it was a suicide. On July 30, 2018, 3 Russian journalists, Kirill Rodchenko, Alexander Rastorguev, and Orkan Dzemel, were killed in the Central African Republic by unknown individuals while they were investigating Wagner Group's local activities and their links to the Kremlin. The Russian Foreign Ministry claimed that the 3 Russian journalists were killed while they were resisting a robbery attempt. A Russian specialist, Neil Hauer, summarized the complex relationship between the Wagner Group and the Russian media. In Russia, journalism is far from the safest profession. Even more so when the subject of investigation happens to be a private mercenary army engaged in multiple active conflicts abroad. In 2019, a horrific torture video was spread on the internet. The video was disclosing crimes committed by members of the Wagner Group in Syria. The video is thought to have been recorded in 2017 on an oil field west of Palmyra, Syria. A man is seen lying on the ground and surrounded by 4 men, all dressed in camouflage smocks. One of these men breaks the victim's legs with a sledgehammer before crushing his chest, beheading him and cutting off his lower arms. They then hang his corpse by his legs and set the body on fire. The person who is recording the torture and beheading of the Syrian prisoner is identified as a member of the Russian PMC, namely the Wagner Group. Private military companies are almost considered as regular and legal military structures. However, they have a negative image due to the crimes their employees commit. Moreover, their unchecked use of power and immunity from inspection and control of international institutions creates serious questions. If international organizations and intergovernmental bodies continue to remain silent or hesitant to act in conflict zones during times of crisis, PMCs, namely these modern-time mercenaries, will dominate war theaters, deepening crises, inflaming conflicts, and violating more human rights.